It starts with a mountain, a living, breathing landmark that defines a city and shapes its people. For runners, it's a playground. For conservationists, a responsibility. And for those who partner with it, like RMB, it's a promise to protect, preserve, and give back. In this first episode of our special RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town series, we're exploring the place, the land that makes it all possible. We'll hear from Mike Edwards, head of sponsorship at RMB, on what drew them to this mountain. From Andy Davies, chairperson of Friends of Table Mountain, on what it takes to protect it. And from elite athletes Robbie Simpson and Ryan Sandes, who remind us why running here feels like coming home. This is where our story begins, on Table Mountain, the heart of RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town.
Every partnership starts with a place, a landscape that stirs something deeper than profit or prestige. For RMB, that place was Table Mountain, a symbol of endurance, of balance, of beauty worth protecting. I sat down with Mike Edwards, head of sponsorships at RMB, to understand what drew them here and why this mountain means more than just miles of trail. Mike, welcome back to the Trail Chasers.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Dean.
We're here today to chat about UTCT and the incredible work that RMB is doing with the race and just really elevating the race. This first episode that we're chatting about is all about the place that the race takes place in, on the iconic Table Mountain. And I think it's quite unique in that not a lot of races do take place using the whole of Table Mountain. And you've obviously run the race yourself as well. So when I say sort of Table Mountain, or when you think back on those kind of memories of running it, what comes to mind and what does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, so I'm actually working my way through all the races. I've got 2 to go. But for me personally, it's just the most exceptional space. And I think we're very fortunate to live in a country that has such incredible environmental heritage and beautiful places. And the Table Mountain National Park, and broadly speaking, the trails of the Western Cape are just a quintessential example of that. And it's incredibly special, and to run through the trails, all 167 kilometers of them, which is effectively the stadium of trail running. And for me, it's just a privilege to be able to spend time in quiet places where in today's age, and you and I, talking on a podcast right now, we don't always get, and it's difficult to find those quiet spaces. And so for me, RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town and that broader trail network and trail running in general just represents an incredible environment to spend time in.
So what was it about Table Mountain that sort of stuck out for RMB, made you guys want to get involved?
Yeah, good question, and I touched on it there already. I mean, the race of RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town and its stadium is the mountain. And there's no other sport quite like it where they have such a stadium. So you're traversing 160 plus kilometers of beautiful biodiversity that is just a rich South African heritage. And I think that was one of the early attraction points for us getting involved with RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town. We saw it as a leader in the sport, but more than just the event and the races that it puts on and the talent that it attracts, is we saw an opportunity to associate our brand with that environment and to make an impact on that environment. We know the race has, the RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town has a trail fund, of which there's numerous beneficiaries who are daily and consistently contributing to preserving those spaces and preserving the incredible biodiversity and the fauna and flora that we have, so that far beyond trail running, frankly, hikers, adventurers, outdoor enthusiasts, my daughter's daughters will be able to enjoy the same spaces that I've been able to enjoy. And that's very powerful for us as a brand to get involved in. And we've got a lot of resource and people and investment that we can give to contributing to such a good cause.
Yeah, you touched on a little bit the trail fund there. So take me back to, was that always kind of part of the plan in sponsoring the race, and how did the formation of that fund happen?
So the fund was initiated long before our arrival. Stu McConaughey, race director, initiated the Trail Fund, and it's effectively, for now at least, made up of Friends of Table Mountain, Sugarbird Project, and Sustainable Cedar, all three of which are beneficiaries from numerous sources, one being race entries, two being corporate sponsors like ourselves, and then the public investment too that contributes even beyond and outside the race, people that get involved with those. So that was established long before our arrival, and we just identified that as a key tenet that we wanted to contribute to. It's a key differentiator to the race, and not just the race, and sponsorships. We're constantly looking at our sponsorship portfolio and our sponsorship properties for ways and means to get invested and to make a difference beyond the events and the individuals and the athletes that take part in these events. And so for us, it's just been a great channel, I guess, through which we can direct investment, and we know it's going to the right places, and we know it's going to a great cause.
One of the partners you support is Friends of Table Mountain, and they obviously do incredible work and very visible work on the trails. And we've got an interview with Andy, and we're going to hear from him now. Every mountain has its guardians, people who quietly fight to protect its trails, its access, and its future. Andy Davies from Friends of Table Mountain is one of them. His work reminds us that the paths we run are a privilege, and that protecting them is part of the race we all run together. Andy, welcome. What does Table Mountain mean to yourself personally?
Look, to me, it's an incredibly special place because it's this beautiful mountain that sits within our city. And visually, it's an amazing thing to look at every day. I live out in Bloberg Strand, and I get to look at it every day. But also, it's an incredible recreational space for many people. My first passion is climbing, and then obviously running and walking on the mountain. And there are so many opportunities for us to do things like that on Table Mountain. So yeah, it's a very, very special place for me and my family.
Mm. And how did Friends of Table Mountain get started?
So early 2020, the Minister, Barbara Creasy, came down to address many of the users' concerns about the way the park was being managed. And she set up some task teams, and unfortunately those task teams failed. And as a result of that, Friends of Table Mountain was formed because we realized we needed an advocacy group in order to ensure that the park was managed appropriately.
Mm. And how did you kind of get involved in that?
So I attended the ministerial meeting, and then I volunteered for one of the task teams, and then I got connected to many of the other people on task teams, and then together we realized there was an issue. We voiced our concerns, and then we realized we needed to set up something a little bit more formal in order to ensure the park was managed appropriately.
Yeah. And, in a nutshell, what does Friends of Table Mountain do?
So first and foremost, our role is advocacy. So we communicate with sandparks and with various other stakeholders in order to try and improve the management, improve the budget allocation of Table Mountain National Park. Currently, we're busy running a petition at change.org, which we hopefully will wrap up fairly soon. And we also realized that we could maybe do something physical to improve the park, and we decided to start a little trail clearing team. And we've got 3 guys working on the mountain now, and they work pretty hard throughout the year at clearing trails, and that's the major thing we do. We also do some smaller jobs, like we partner up with the Sugarbird Project, the Helihack initiative, clearing aliens. We do some other work with some of the consulates, installing signage, directional signage to improve safety. Yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think most people are obviously familiar with the kind of the clearing team and the clearing work that you do. How did that kind of come about, and why is their job so important?
So it's interesting, we had a meeting with the then Sandparks CEO, and at that time Sandparks had stopped the Bat Run, which is a really, really important trail running race for us. And at that meeting with the CEO, we agreed that we would collaborate by helping Sandparks to fix the trail up Devil's Peak, and then they would allow the Bat Run to open.
Okay.
So the Bat Run was opened, but still we got no action from Sandparks. So what we decided to do is we partnered up with the Honorary Rangers, and then many volunteers, and then we started fixing the Devil's Peak trail. And from that, it basically grew. Many funders came to us. One of the most important funders being UTCT came to us and offered to help us with funding. And currently, we're able to pay our team throughout the whole year.
Yeah. And how do you kind of determine which trails get cleared when? How does the schedule get put together?
Well, quite often funders come to us and they say, look here, we've got an event running like UTCT, and they will identify trails. But I mean, we're very active on the mountain. We're a team. We've got quite an extensive team of people. Some of our guys and girls spend hours on the mountain, and we know all the trails, and so we identify them, and we get a lot of feedback from people, and they say, look, this trail is in really bad condition. And we put it on the plan, and then we try and plan it in as soon as possible.
Yeah. Obviously, we are talking about UTCT today. Why do you think, other than obviously it runs on Table Mountain, it's such an important part of UTCT?
So look here, Table Mountain, like I've explained, is an incredibly beautiful sort of national park and a mountain within the city. And Cape Town itself is incredibly special, you know, having this mountain and the sea around the city. And I think it's really, really amazing for, especially our international visitors, to come here and to run on such an amazing trails in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
So it must be an incredible experience.
Yeah. And you touched on a little bit about how that relationship started, but take me back to the beginning. How was that kind of born?
So Stuart McConaughey, the race director for UTCT, has always been very supportive of our work. I mean, he's very much invested in Table Mountain National Park.
Yeah.
And through the Bat Run and through Tuesday Trails and then through UTCT, he's been supporting us. So I must give a lot of credit to Stuart for helping us.
Yeah. And one of the initiatives that they obviously have is the Trail Fund. How does that kind of fund your work?
So typically a few weeks before UTCT, Stuart will approach us and identify some trails he'd like us to work on. And then we will work on them. And then currently we're busy working down just above Scarborough on some trails for UTCT. And then we'll probably move over to Llandudno. I'm not too sure what the other ones are, but yeah, for the next sort of 5 or 6 weeks, we will work pretty hard on UTCT trails.
And what role does RMB kind of play in all of that?
So RMB have been supporting us for a couple of years, and they're basically funding us, which is really, really good, because obviously we need the cash to be able to pay wages and materials and tools and maintenance and stuff like that. I must tell you one story. I forget which year it was exactly, but basically we had like 6,000 Rand left in the bank, and we just said, like, you know, we don't know how we're going to pay the wages and everything like that. But we knew that RMB and UTCT were going to help us. So and as a result of that, we've really been able to build. So I give a lot of credit to UTCT and RMB for keeping us going at a very, very critical part of our sort of journey.
Yeah, I think that's also an important point, that, you know, that it doesn't only fund, you know, like the month before UTCT. I think that's also often like a kind of misled thing, is where people think, oh, okay, cool, month before UTCT, you guys come in, clean the trails, and then, you know, it's done and dusted. So I think that's also quite an important point to note.
Yeah, look, I mean, throughout the year, the trail runners are amazing. They've through the various trail running clubs and everything like that, they've been incredibly supportive of us. And I mean, the really important thing about, like, for example, UTCT and RMB, is those trails are not only used during UTCT. They're used by hikers and runners throughout the year. So we're having a lasting sort of impression on the mountain.
And, you know, how important is the actual race itself as, you know, a showcase for kind of the work that you're doing, and a showcase for the charity? Yeah,
look, obviously all the media coverage we get from the race and through RMB also is very beneficial to us. It really highlights the work that we're doing. Every year RMB pay for a nice sort of little reel or video clip of the work we do, and I think it's really nice for people to kind of see what we do. And it's always really nice to see the kind of support we get during the race. Our trail workers get a lot of support, and it's great to see the whole trail community being behind us.
Yeah, and, you know, mentioning the trail workers, I know some of them run. You know, talk a bit about that kind of initiative and getting them into races.
So our guys have competed in UTCT. One of our runners, Alec, is a pretty good runner.
Pretty good.
He won. he won Yonkers Hook, and he's quite competitive. He's training quite hard. I mean, look here, UTCT is very, very competitive.
Yeah.
But he'll hopefully be running this year also.
Yeah. So is that also part of the kind of initiative? He runs like for Friends of Table Mountain in the race, and okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. No, he's really good. Which distance is he?
I think we will be seeing him on the 35k hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, he's busy training quite hard. What's also quite nice is when he runs on the mountain, he sees problems with trails.
Yeah.
I get these WhatsApps saying, "Hey Andy, this trail on this map." He's very good. He sends me pictures and he sends me the map coordinates, and we put that in the database, and we know we need to go back and fix it.
What does the future look like for Friends of Table Mountain, and for the work that you're kind of doing?
So, regardless of the outcomes of our petition that we're running at the moment, I think it's really important for Friends of Table Mountain to remain as an advocacy organization in order to hold the park manager accountable.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we really love this mountain and we really want to add value. So we'll continue clearing trails and doing whatever we need to do to improve the mountain.
Where does this kind of fit in between, as you say, between parks manager, between Sand Parks, and the work that you kind of do? Is this something ongoing and kind of forever type thing, or are you hoping that it becomes a part of Sand Parks' mandate, I guess?
Well, as my wife always says, I need to work myself out of a job. So ideally, Sand Parks should be doing all this work. But I think there's always a role for volunteers, especially for something as important as Table Mountain. So I think there'll always be work for volunteer groups on Table Mountain National Park. So I can't foresee us ever stopping working on Table Mountain.
And why do you do it personally? What do you kind of get out of it?
It's the same as our honorary ranger, Toby. We both get a huge amount of pleasure from seeing a really poorly degraded path, a completely overgrown path, and going and clearing it and just seeing this beautiful path being opened up and then seeing people use it. It brings us a huge amount of pleasure. And I just think that Table Mountain National Park has got so much potential. It has so much potential for us as recreational users. There's so many beautiful little trails that we can use, and it has a huge amount of potential for tourism. Yeah. And it's not only the Plutterklip Gorge trails and the Cableway, which it's got tourism potential. I actually think that Table Mountain National Park has this incredible potential as this amazing trail running destination for people. You think about going to Chamonix to go trail running. Yeah. People should think, hey, we're going to go and run Table Mountain just from a recreational point of view, because it's so beautiful, because the fynbos is so special.
Yeah. And over and above, clearing trails, and the kind of the work that we, I guess, see you guys doing, why is it so important, other than for running on the mountain, why is it so important that this work kind of gets done?
Well, I think there's so much work that gets done. I think also from an erosion point of view and a conservation point of view, it's really important. We don't want our trails to end up as these massive dongas getting washed away. And also, I think it's quite important to highlight the important role that volunteers play. So that's why we've partnered up with people like the Sugarbird Project. Yeah. Who are doing amazing work. And it's not only them, there's a lot of other volunteers doing amazing work on Table Mountain. And I certainly hope that we've highlighted the important role that volunteers play in maintaining these beautiful natural spaces that we own. And it doesn't only relate to Table Mountain National Park, it also relates to other sort of parks in the Western Cape, like the Cedarburg, like Jonkershoek. I think all of those parks need special care. Yeah. And as users of those mountains, we have an important role to play in holding the manager accountable for the correct management of those parks, and also doing our bit to try and improve those parks.
I don't know if you watch UTCT, or you go there, or you go to the finish line thing and you hear comments, people saying how amazing the trails are and how beautiful it was, and especially foreign visitors. And what does that do for you?
Yeah, look, we get those kind of comments throughout the year, and it's really great. I think that feedback is really positive. It helps with motivation. You know, sometimes you think, oh, why am I doing this? But when you get those kind of comments, it really does help. Yeah. And I mean, I run those trails personally, you know, and it's just so nice being able to run them. I mean, use an example, the middle and upper traverse on Devil's Peak were completely overgrown with this horrible spiky gorse. And I run those, and it's just this beautiful, flowy single track, and it's just so nice to run that after it's been cleared.
Yeah. And, you know, when people finish the race or, you know, leave Cape Town or a few weeks after the race, what do you hope that they kind of take away from, you know, interacting with the trails, from, you know, finding out perhaps about Friends of Table Mountain?
Yeah, well, I think we do get a lot of support. What's really nice is that when people sign up for UTCT, they're given the opportunity to donate to us. And we get significant donations through UTCT for that. Yeah. So that money is used for the trails. And I think hopefully when people walk away and they see how much effort is gone in, that maybe we can inspire them to do the same themselves at their local sort of areas.
Yeah. And, you know, other than donations and things like that, are there other ways for people to kind of get involved?
Yeah, look here, we're always looking for volunteers to help administer the organization. It always requires a lot of administrative work. We've got some really good people helping us administer the organization. But I think the best thing for people to do is just keep an eye out for on our social media if we need help.
Yeah, I see you do like often ask for extra hands.
Yeah, that's great strength training for people to carry logs up the hill. Not always many takers, but we have some good people who come and help volunteer.
And I've met Alec, and you know, are the other guys inspired by the mountain? And you know, is it a passion project for them?
Yeah, look here, I think first and foremost, they are getting a salary. It's a job for them. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. But I can definitely see from them that they really appreciate the mountain. And, you know, we'll get these pictures of sometimes they'll see wildlife and they'll send us pictures of the wildlife they see. Sometimes when they see the snakes, they're pretty scared. But no, I think they have developed quite a strong relationship with the mountain. And like I said, you know, when Alec runs in the mountain, he sends me pictures of the trails that are not in good condition. And yeah, I think they genuinely care about the mountain.
And lastly, what does it mean to be a friend of Table Mountain?
Well, hopefully, Friends of Table Mountain isn't only restricted to the people who are official members, but it's the broader community. And I think a friend of Table Mountain is somebody who generally cares about the mountain and is willing to do just their little bit to help make it a special place for everybody.
Yeah, amazing. Incredible. We'll keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, and thank you very much.
Pleasure.
So we just chatted, I had a chat there with Andy from Friends of Table Mountain, and you know, one of the things he obviously chatted about was not only the fact that Friends of Table Mountain is a advocacy group that advocates, you know, for Table Mountain, but they're also every single day they're out there fixing, cleaning trails, and really just keeping those trails neat and pristine. Apart from actually the advocacy, what does the action kind of mean as well to you?
Yeah, and we've immediately connected with Andy Davies as a brand from the get-go of this partnership, and the work he and the team do on the trail network is absolutely incredible. And to be honest with you, the athletes are remarkable people, but the real heroes are the people that enable the platform and the trail network for those athletes to take part in. So his team, we kind of, and not just myself, I think broadly the trail community has a lot to thank for Andy and his team, as well as the rest of partners like beneficiaries like themselves who give so freely of their time and so willingly of their time. They are ultimately really inspiring. And within his team, he's actually got a number of individuals who run, and that is so beautiful. He's got people who work on the trails and then put on their tackies and trail shoes, and they are literally testing the trails, and they are phenomenal talent in their own right. And so those stories are really special, and the more we can unearth of that, the better. And long may it continue. I think there's a lot of gratitude from the trail community towards partners like themselves that do the work that they do. And funnily enough, I've actually just spent some time in the Cape walking a new section together with Friends of Table Mountain of the 100-miler route, which is absolutely sublime. And they take a beautiful trail and make it truly great. And it's very special to witness that firsthand.
For visiting athletes, this place feels almost unreal. Steep climbs, ocean air, and the city at your feet. But it's also about belonging. Robbie Simpson has traveled the world chasing trails, yet he says there's something about Cape Town that feels like home. Robbie, welcome back to the Trail Chasers and back to Cape Town. When I kind of mention UTCT, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Rocks. Lots and lots of rocks, and hot weather as well.
Yeah.
And then the ocean. Yeah. All those things.
And you've obviously, being an elite athlete, have raced all over the world. The first time you came to UTCT, or you decided you were going to do it, what drew you here initially?
It's a country that I've always wanted to visit, and I actually heard about the Otter race years ago. Someone from the UK did it a long time ago, and it was kind of on the radar. And then South Africa was on the radar. We had some teammates from South Africa join our team, and then Terex started supporting that race. And also Macy, a fellow teammate, he'd been to UTCT I think the previous year and had a lot of good things to say about it. And just the time of year was really, really nice. You finish the season in Europe, and then the weather gets really bad at home, and then November I was thinking I'm ready for another race, but I want to do something exciting, something different. If I'm racing in the autumn time, it's normally like something a bit unusual, either a bit longer or a travel somewhere I've not been before. So then I chose the race and didn't really know what to expect, and then from the first day here I absolutely loved it. And then I really enjoyed the race, especially that first year. So then every year I'm like, yeah, we'll just come back and do it. It's a great thing to do this time of year, and a lot of fun.
What surprised you on that first race?
A lot of things. I think how challenging the course was, but also how stunning it is and how varied. Like the 55K is the one I like. That's the one I've done 3 years in a row, and I like how there's parts of it you're running along the beach and the coastline. There's sections where you're on top of an actual mountain, and then you're in the thick forest around Newlands, which I really like. And then you've got the climb up blockhouse where it feels more arid, dry, kind of dusty almost. So it's just so varied throughout the course.
And what was your first impression of Table Mountain?
The kilometers don't come easy there. It's it's really tough. I remember the first time going up Plataclip and then doing a loop over Table Mountain, and I was thinking, Table Mountain, I'm sure it'll be loads of people go up there. It's probably a really nice trail, and then you get to the top, and I'm sure it'll be nice gravel and everything, groomed European style trails. And no, it's really, really hard. Plataclip, just trying to get to the top of Table Mountain from any direction involves, apart from the zigzags, I guess, from Constantia Neck, but then even then doesn't get you to the top. Involves a lot of rocks, a lot of really steep climbing, and just slow running. Yeah.
And how's that relationship with Table Mountain kind of evolved as you've kind of come back each time?
I think you get more familiar with it, and you know the routes, because actually it's a huge, vast area of a mountain. We kind of think Table Mountain is just one mountain, but actually it goes on forever, and there's loads of little peaks and valleys and hidden sections. So now I know it a little bit better. It's cool, go up there every now and then, but it's not like the kind of main staple of the training, because otherwise we wouldn't be getting very far.
Yeah. And how do you think your experience of Table Mountain kind of differs from people who kind of lived here their whole lives and, run on the mountain their whole lives?
Well, I guess I've grown up somewhere else and ran on a lot of different mountains. So I've seen, in Scotland, the mountains are pretty wild as well. And, we have some fairly technical mountains and changeable weather and all sorts of stuff. And then it's similar in a way to here. In the Alps, I don't know, you get used to more stable weather maybe, and definitely more groomed trails. So then having seen all that stuff and coming here, it's it's quite unique actually. Table Mountain, I think if you grew up here, you'd be surprised how easy other mountains are. Or you can just run up smooth trails. Whereas coming from that and some of the mountains in Scotland as well, then it was a real surprise. It's just like, whoa, I didn't expect it to be quite like this.
Yeah. And what surprised you the most about the race in terms of the atmosphere and the people and the community?
Yeah, it's a really welcoming community and friendly. And the thing is, like, it's South African trail running. I guess it's got a lot bigger over the last years, but it maybe wasn't so big as like the road running scene. And I've heard of like Two Oceans and Comrades and everything for years and years. I knew it was like huge, but the trail running as well. Like I still felt like the race was a really big race, a lot of people involved, like huge community around it, and just loads of people who are incredibly enthusiastic about the sport, like so much enthusiasm and just just energy for trail running.
And if there's one thing that keeps you coming back, what would that be?
I just love the city, and I love South Africa. Like this time of year, it's just amazing. Like, I love the blue ocean, the sunshine, the mountains, just everything in one place, and the variety you can have. And it's just great to come and run and just spend like weeks and weeks just running on the trails and meeting people and everything. So that keeps me coming back. Like I come back for the race, but I come back for the whole build up to the race, the training, the meeting friends and everything. I think if I just came out like 3 days before, did the race and went home, it would be a very different experience. So yeah.
And what do you think kind of Table Mountain says about trail running in South Africa?
Well, I mean, it's classic, isn't it? It's, if you're coming to do a race here, Table Mountain is like the iconic, one of the most famous mountains in Africa. It's a classic mountain in a huge city. It's so iconic. It's like everywhere you look, you can see Table Mountain, like in the city, one side of it. And I think it's just amazing having that there. Although having said that, the 55 doesn't do a lot on Table Mountain, which is, you kind of do the lower part, which I'm glad of, because it's so brutal. Like the 100k route, going up Platteklip and then down Llandudno Ravine.
And how was the support and the kind of the reception you received the first time you came here, and how's that kind of evolved over the last few years?
I mean, it was really good initially because I guess I didn't know anyone the first year really, just one or two people, but we got really well supported through like Adidas South Africa, and we had a lot of people looking out for us and helping us out. And I even remember the first year I came here doing a run in Jonkershoek, and then some guy was like mountain biking and he's like, "Oh, you guys are here from Terex, and we've heard all about you and stuff." And I was like, "Huh?" But so people were already like looking out for us and kind of making an effort to support us and make us feel welcome, and I like that a lot. But then now I've been coming back, like I feel like I know people very well, and I've done a lot of racing here. I feel like I know the running community well, and it's just more like it's a nice level of knowing a lot of people, getting a lot of support. Like when I run on the trails or race on the trails, so many people are cheering my name, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I know more people than I thought, and it feels like a second home actually.
And what is kind of your favorite moments in the race?
I'm trying to think now. I mean, I do love the section. I like the flowing trails just before Alphen, because you finally can like relax a little bit and not have to look at your feet the whole time. But then I really like the contour section after Blockhouse. So like obviously that last climb is really tough. Everyone knows how tough Blockhouse is. But then you get to the top, and then there's just a few kilometers where it lets up a bit, and it's flat. It's not really technical. You can finally get back to some good running again, and you still got a few K to go. But there you're like, okay, like now. I mean, also you come around the side of the mountain, you can see Lion's Head and everything, which is cool. But you just finally there, you're like, okay, it's more or less done. You can just enjoy these last kilometers, and like all the horrible stuff's done.
In general, have you kind of considered your relationship to the trails and to the mountain?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we end up doing it, is because we like running on trails, we love running up mountains, and that's it. And it's the same every time. I mean, just coming back here for the first time in quite a few months, and then just straight back into like the normal routes and going around Newlands and then exploring a few new trails. And I'm like, oh, it's so good to be back and just, like on the trails that you love, and then just, up Table Mountain and all the different climbs and everything. And that's kind of why we do it. We don't do it for, I mean, I like racing, I enjoy that, but most of all, I actually just love running on the mountains, and then doing this sport allows me to do more of that than the average person. So it's like the best. Yeah. And
are you aware of that kind of need to protect the mountains and lightening your footprint? And when you're running?
Yeah, and you can really feel that in different areas depending on where you are, like the impact and the number of people that are out there, and then like, you know, trail erosion and things, and also just like the crowding of certain areas, like if it's not well managed, and then like, you know, they sort of compromise the environment just to try and fit more people in, or try to get money for, you know, for more visitors and things like that. And it definitely does have to be like a good balance, because I think everyone who goes to the mountains kind of appreciates the fact that it's a wild place, and that's why they're going there, and they don't necessarily want to see 10,000 people all crammed into a trail, or to be on a trail that's like tarmacked to make it more, you know, I'd say accessible. You have to have trails that are very accessible, but sometimes it can be like almost ruined to the point of like, it's no longer a wild place anymore. It's just like built up infrastructure everywhere, and it's just tricky getting that balance, I think, and leaving some areas wild. And
And how do you think we compare in that kind of sense, Table Mountain, to places overseas in terms of, you know, the mountain conservation and keeping those areas wild?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, for a start, it's just really hard going anywhere. So if you want to get to the top of Table Mountain, obviously you can use the cable car, but it's so hard, like covering big distances up there because of the technical terrain. So I think it naturally does mean that there's a lot of areas that feel quite wild. And then even in like Newlands and things, there's so many trails there that there are ones again which are like pretty unspoiled, and like the nature here is, compared to anywhere in Europe, it's unbelievable. I mean, you see so many more species. You see like, you know, snakes and lizards and birds and all sorts, and even like caracals. You know, I've heard people seeing them, and to see something like that so close to a city, like, it is really good. But I think it will be more under pressure in the future. I think it's just trying to make sure that like it's managed as best as possible, which is the best thing you can do, is like teaching people about, you know, wild places and getting them out there to really enjoy it. And then I think people then want to protect it as well, and they appreciate like the challenges and everything. So yeah, I think here it is pretty well managed from my experience, but obviously I don't know everything going on.
And what is your experience of the trails and Table Mountain, you know, in training versus in the actual race?
It always feels harder, I'd say, in training. Like, you're more conscious of all the rocks and all the technical sections, and, you know, but in the race you just tend to switch off and run over it really quickly. And then the other thing is, in training you can really appreciate the views, and you stop to have a look, and you like look off the edge of one of the mountains, and, you know, you see like, oh wow, there's the ocean just below there. I can't believe like how crazy that is, you know, just looking straight down off the peak and all these things.
And what's it like, you know, being up on Table Mountain by yourself, sunrise, sunset? You know, how do you kind of describe that feeling?
Yeah, it's pretty special. I mean, it's, if you think there's like millions of people in the city, but then you're up there and there's almost nobody up there at that time, and it's just you on the mountain, and it's so vast. Like, you think, oh, it's just a small mountain in the middle of the city, but it's actually like a tiny city surrounding this huge area of mountain. And it's just, I think, really important, like, that there's a place like that close to the city where you can be like, up there, like in a wild area. It feels so remote. You can see, like, you know, the sun setting over the ocean, all the other peaks, but then in like, you know, a few K you're back down to like the city again. So yeah, it's special.
Well, good luck.
Thanks very much.
And good luck with the last bit of training, and excited to see that Adidas Terex battle taking place.
Yeah, thanks very much.
And what is it like when you kind of get feedback from people who have run the race, about how incredible the trails were and how like well maintained they were, and, you know, how easy it was kind of to run and follow the trails? Yeah,
that's priceless. I think the more people that appreciate and share their gratitude for the trails that they're able to access as part of the race, the better. And frankly, the more awareness we can drive of those trails is going to lead to more investment, is going to lead to more time, is going to lead to more volunteer hours, which they so desperately need. And more, I guess, acknowledgement of the fact that we don't have this sport without them. We don't have this sport without the iconic trails of Table Mountain. We don't have Ultra-Trail Drakensberg without the beautiful and pristine trail network in the Berg. And those are just two examples of the unbelievable trail network we have in this country. And I think we all have a responsibility, corporate South Africa included, and RMB's role in this is to protect that and ensure it's there for future generations to enjoy.
Every mountain has a voice, and in Cape Town, it sounds a lot like Ryan Sandes. He's run the world's toughest races, but this mountain is personal. It's where he began, where he returns, and where his story keeps finding new meaning. How's it, Ryan? Welcome back to the Trail Chasers. I want to ask you, what is your kind of earliest memory of Table Mountain?
Yeah, geez, my earliest memory of Table Mountain was a really long time ago. I think it was running with my dad up above Constantia Neck on the Jeep tracks. I mean, I must have been 6 or 7 years old. I think my dad was training for Two Oceans Ultra, so it was quite a while back. But yeah, lots of fond memories of Table Mountain growing up.
Do you remember that feeling of what it felt like?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's something like special being on Table Mountain, whether it's kind of running, hiking, just exploring it. I mean, I think as a kid being that young, I think you just realize there's so much on the mountain. There's so many like different opportunities, different trails to go along. I mean, it's almost like a little bit daunting, but I remember that feeling of actually finally getting up to the dams on top of Constantia Neck, and it felt like a completely different world up there. But then also just that feeling of fulfillment of actually, geez, I made it to the top of Table Mountain was really cool.
Yeah. And how's your kind of relationship with the mountain changed, over the years?
I think growing up as a kid, I spent a lot of time at the ocean, and I spent a lot of time on Llandudno Beach. And I mean, I always remember looking up at Table Mountain, and I guess it almost felt like quite daunting in a way, or just this like massive structure like that towered above you. And I guess it was only once I started running that I really started exploring Table Mountain. I mean, that's been pretty cool for me because it's almost like it's a whole nother world on Table Mountain. And for me, just I guess being able to be like in the city center and then like within half an hour to be kind of on the slopes of Table Mountain is something really special and really unique to Table Mountain and Cape Town. But yeah, I mean, I guess like growing up, like I said, I spent a lot of time at the ocean. My grandfather always said like it's important to respect the ocean, and I think I've taken that respect onto the mountain. Just in terms of, for sure, maybe Table Mountain is not the biggest mountain in the world, and I think you get quite tricked into thinking that because it's so close to the city, kind of that nothing can go wrong. But like when you're up there, yeah. Things change quickly on the mountain. So I mean, I think that's been something kind of really important for me to take onto the mountain.
And do you still get like that butterflies kind of feeling on the mountain, even though you probably run it like 1,000 times?
For sure. I mean, it's always really cool being overseas and traveling and then coming home and running on Table Mountain. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's no mountain around the world that feels like home apart from Table Mountain. I mean, I think there's something incredibly special being able to run up Table Mountain and see the ocean. I think for me, being able to see the ocean, it just feels like home, and I feel grounded. I mean, kind of running on the Alps or the Rockies or the Himalayas, and you kind of just see mountains around you. It's incredible, but yeah, it just doesn't feel like that same comfort of home like Table Mountain feels. So yeah, it's really cool to run on Table Mountain, and to be honest, geez, I've been kind of running on there for like 18 plus years now, and I'm still finding new trails and kind of new things to do and new link ups, and I think that's what's so cool about the mountains. There's just like never ending opportunities.
And what do you think it kind of adds to a race like UTCT, that running experience on Table Mountain?
Yeah, I mean, there's something really unique, as I said, about Table Mountain, and to incorporate that into a race is really incredible. I mean, I think just the fact that you can be kind of start basically on the outskirts of the city of Cape Town. You can start a race and then kind of run in all these wild places like Table Mountains and the Cape Peninsula, and then finish back basically just in the outskirts of the city is pretty cool. I think we're really lucky with what we have on Table Mountain, and also just the diversity. I mean, like a race like Ultra-Trail Cape Town, being able to run over Table Mountain, then being able to like run along the coastline, kind of if you're running the Ultra-Trail Cape Town 100 miler, getting to explore kind of the deep south. I mean, it's just really, really cool, the variety you get. You can get some incredibly technical trails on Table Mountain, and then there's more like runnable stuff. So yeah, I feel there's a bit of everything. You really get a full experience when you run on Table Mountain.
Have you ever had a moment on Table Mountain that you were just like, wow, this is incredible?
Yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes you do take it for granted, to be completely honest. But there are definitely those moments, kind of when you're up there at sunset or sunrise, that just as you say, it's just kind of take your breath away moments, or just incredibly kind of humbling, and you kind of feel a lot of gratitude being up there. So for sure, I mean, like I say, for me, the most special place in the world is being up on top of Table Mountain. There's something, really incredible about that. And I mean, the feeling that you get that you're actually pretty close to a big city, but just being on top of the mountain, you feel so free, so detached from everything, and just being on the mountain, just putting one foot in front of the other. That's all you've got to worry about. I find that's just such an amazing form of meditation for me. And I always say, kind of, go up onto Table Mountain to solve the world's problems. Or, I mean, I don't know, sometimes in their life something can feel like overly daunting, and we kind of, I guess, in the modern world, like overly connected. But just being able to get onto Table Mountain and detach is just something really magical.
Yeah. And what is the feeling like, between, I guess, being on the mountain by yourself, being on the mountain with a group of people or someone else, and then obviously being on the mountain in kind of a race setting, how do those kind of feelings differ?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are very different feelings. I mean, kind of being on a race, to be honest, like a race like Ultra-Trail Cape Town with the competition levels, you kind of head down and you focused on racing. But I mean, I think that's why I love mountains, being able to experience it in a race format, experience it running with good mates, and kind of share that experience, or running in a community is really cool. And then also just being out there on your own, and as I mentioned earlier, just really being able to detach, and just kind of get into your own headspace. So I mean, I think that's what's so cool about trail running. At least for me, I don't see it as just a sport. I mean, for me, it's like a way of life, and there's so many different ways to experience the mountain. I mean, even experiencing Table Mountain in summer when it's baking hot and there's no water on the mountain, to experiencing it in winter when kind of it's pouring with rain and there are waterfalls everywhere, and kind of it's completely kind of fogged out on top. It's just completely different.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility to the mountain?
Yeah, I mean, I remember like one of the very first trail races I ran. It was either Fisherman's Trail Challenge or Hot Bay Trail Challenge, but I remember the T-shirt said leave only footprints. And I mean, I think that's so true. I mean, I really kind of, having a son, I mean, I really want him to be able to experience the mountain in the same way that I experienced it, and for his kids and grandkids to experience the mountain in the same way. And I mean, unfortunately, I've been really fortunate to travel around the world, but kind of by doing that and traveling to places around the world kind of year after year, you see that kind of our natural landscapes and mountains and stuff are changing for the worse. So, I mean, that's really sad to see. So, I mean, I do feel, and I mean, everyone that uses Table Mountain has a responsibility to try and keep it in the same form that they experience it in.
Yeah. And in that regard, how important is kind of like the work of, the Friends of Table Mountain and organizations like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the utmost respect for the Friends of Table Mountain and the various organizations on Table Mountain. I mean, the work they do is absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't think they get enough support for what they do. And I mean, spending 20 hours a week on the trails in Table Mountain, I get to see firsthand what they do, but also appreciate that kind of, you'll run a trail before they've done maintenance, and it's really treacherous and difficult to run on, and like they'll spend time on the trail and kind of really maintain it and make it runnable or usable. So I mean, I think without them, to be honest, and the various organizations, the mountain definitely wouldn't be functioning as what it is today, and in terms of for people to hike and run and to use it.
Yeah. And, when people kind of finish UTCT, what do you hope that they take away from that experience on Table Mountain?
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that it's a life-changing experience for them. I mean, just to get there and to get onto that start line takes a lot of effort and work and a lot of sacrifices. So, I mean, that in itself is an incredible achievement, but crossing that finish line, I mean, I hope they can take that experience away from them and just, I mean, kind of that they can realize that as humans are far more capable of achieving stuff than what we think. And I mean, if you put your mind to something, you can achieve some really incredible stuff. So, I mean, I hope they can take that experience away, and then also just, kind of spread the love and tell people about Table Mountain, Cape Town. I think we've got a really special place, special city.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, as always.
Thanks so much. Yeah, really cool to chat.
Why do you think that is so important, that you have multiple kind of stakeholders all involved with the same kind of goal?
Yeah, because I think we all have a vested interest, and I think that comes with awareness. You realize that these things don't exist in isolation, and they need the support of both public and private and individual, and these things only truly transform and gain the exponential value and investment that they do if everyone's involved. And so from that perspective, awareness is a major part, and following that, RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town, the event which drives so much of that awareness, is critical. And so we want to shine a spotlight on these trail beneficiaries, and we want to shine a spotlight on the people that make it happen.
What is the change in your thinking when you're focusing on the preservation of Table Mountain and the protection of these spaces, as opposed to purely profits or purely sponsoring a race for what you can kind of get out of it?
I think there's a corporate social responsibility, as cliche as that sounds, in that corporate South Africa or corporate wherever you are in the world has a responsibility to give back as much as they take out. And I think we only have this race and everything that it does for us and our ability to drive return on investment from our sponsorship because that trail exists. And so it is fundamentally critical to not just the race's longevity, but our partnership with the race and the longevity of the sport. Because from that perspective, we feel an obligation, but not just an obligation, a passion to give back to these spaces and make sure that they survive long beyond us.
And on a personal kind of level, you're obviously deeply invested yourself. How does that kind of, I guess, further the role of RMB, you being such an advocate for the trails?
Yeah, I always joke I'm in the most unfortunate position as a trail runner in Joburg. And so, frankly, the day that I can't get on a plane and go and run the beautiful Western Cape trails, or the Drakensberg trails for that matter, will be a very sad day for me, because that is my playground and that's where I find an incredible headspace. And it's quite serendipitous in some respects, my career trajectory and my experience in the world of sponsorships, which is now teetering on 10 years plus. The combination of my passion for the sport, RMB's passion for the sport, and my experience, together with the, frankly, culture fit between us and the beneficiaries and the race organizers, all of that just comes together in such a magic way, and we're all on the same page. We all have the same vision. We all have the same goal, and there's something quite magic in that.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that you kind of take away in the work that you've done so far, in terms of the Trail Fund and Table Mountain as a place, what are you kind of most proud of?
I guess I'm a few things. I think the growth of the race and the sport. Importantly on that too is as you well know, we've introduced, together with UTCT, we've introduced a 16-kilometer race. And I think that the dream is that people find the sport there, and that they grow all the way through to the 100-miler. And 100-miler is not for everyone, right? You might get to 55 and that's your sweet spot. You might get to 35, that's your sweet spot. And as South Africans, we do push ourselves to the absolute limit, hence why we run such things as 100-milers. But that's a point of pride for me if we can look back on this partnership one day and say, hey, we did our part in protecting the biodiversity and the trail network, but we also did our part to give people an opportunity to experience those trails and push their limits. Because you take a lot, it's a sport defined by grit and resilience and commitment and discipline, and the life lessons you learn off the back of that are absolutely priceless. And I think we'll look back on the partnership with a great deal of pride as to frankly, at the end of it all, the impact we've had on people's lives, as well as the impact we've had on the environment.
Yeah. And, when people kind of cross that finish line or, leave the race or are reflecting on the race in the week afterwards, what do you want them to feel and to take away in terms of Table Mountain and the trails that they've run on?
I think we want to heighten that sense of awareness and appreciation of the trails that they've just run on. And we do a lot in the race village and after the fact to communicate exactly that, to say, don't take for granted that you're able to enjoy this beautiful space. That, frankly, would also love them all to sign up for next year. And it is a bug that bites. You definitely cross that finish line and maybe you're in a bit of pain for a couple of hours, maybe 24 hours, maybe a week. But certainly once the dust settles, both literally and figuratively, you find yourself being drawn back to this event and this race. A, because of the magic of the trail network, and it's hell of a technical, but it's equally as rewarding because of that fact. And B, because it's just such a well-run event and it's got such a strong community behind it. And that, for me, brings a lot of repeat customers. And you've also, like I touched on earlier, you've got this spectrum of events that allow you to wind up your trail running aspirations or to wind them down, frankly. Maybe you started at the 100-kilometer and you want to actually work on some more speed stuff, or you want to test your skills at the 16K, etc. You've got that full spectrum to challenge yourself across 6 different races on varying terrain, but still get that same magic of community and environment that the race brings.
Every step we take on this mountain is borrowed from the land, from the people who protect it, and from those who came before us. Because RMB Ultra-Trail Cape Town isn't just a race, it's a relationship. A relationship between a city and its mountain, between runners and the trails beneath their feet, between sponsors and the purpose they stand behind. For RMB, for friends of Table Mountain, for athletes like Robbie Simpson and Ryan Sandes, it always comes back to one thing: respect. Because when you start with the right place, everything that follows has purpose. The mountain comes first, and from that foundation, the people follow.